Sorry for the lengthy explanation there on my background, but when people see I have a biology degree, they always ask me how did I get into teaching business and technology. So it's been a long and winding road, but technology was something I could never really shake in my life. So what I want to talk about today is to just kind of give you guys an overview of how we're doing, what we're using TurningPoint for at the Kelley School of Business at Indiana University, how we've implemented some of the techniques we use, and then kind of come back to just giving you an idea of where we're kind of looking to go. And some of the comments from the keynote speech this morning got me kind of fired up. I'm really excited to hear some of the things come along that the CEO was talking about. One of the things we do at
We're on channel 74.
Oh, great.
Channel 74. We're on channel 74 here. So if everybody knows how to program channels, it's just go. 7, 4, go. If you have any problems, come help you. And there's a remote up there if you want to use it.
You know, I tend to pace a lot, and with all the cords up here, that's probably not a good idea, so I'll just stay stationary. Okay. I have a bad habit of bumping into things anyway. One of the things I'll talk about is the style of questioning we use for our students, but we always ask an icebreaker question, so this will be my icebreaker. Being a Hoosier, go ahead and click in with which team you think is going to win the basketball tournament. If you don't know, just choose IU. Being a Hoosier, I've got to ask a basketball question. I can't get around that, even though I've come over to Illinois here. There we go. I like to see that. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't even know if we're going to make the tournament. But anyway, we always ask an icebreaker question, and this just gives our students a chance to get logged into the session, as we call it, to get their clickers registered, just like you all did. Listen to me from Southern Indiana. Just to give them a chance to go 7-4 go, get logged in. Gives them a chance to see that they're being tracked. It gives us a chance to see that our software is actually working, that we've set everything up correctly. So this is just kind of one of our more common questions. And then I'd like to ask you a question about the individual size of your classrooms. Are you a classroom, if you're instructing, are you a classroom of less than 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 300, or more than 300? And at Kelley, we range in size from 50 to 300, depending on the course we're teaching. That's about 4 responses, and we very small classrooms. Interesting. I have a classroom of 30, but it's only because about 30 of them choose not to show up at 8 a.m. So we actually tend to have rather large. We use these in very large lectures. So the 2 courses that I represent today are K201 and X201. These are 2 parts of what we call Technology Foundations. These are introductory level classes that are required for admission to the School of Business at IU. So whether you come in as a person aspiring to get into the School of Business or you come in as a direct admit, you've got to take these courses and perform with a C or better grade. K201 is our bigger freshman course. It typically has between 1,700 students a semester. It's a very large course. They have 6 lectures on Fridays from 8 a.m. all the way out to like 3:30, and those lectures typically run somewhere between 100 and 200 students apiece. In K201, in the lab sections, these are divided into lab and lectures. They discuss mostly at the fundamental level database and spreadsheets. So we're teaching students basic business technical skills. We teach them about database management and development, spreadsheet usage. In our lectures, we focus on everything from this is a keyboard, this is a monitor, to data security. In X201, we take them up to the next level. We have a much smaller enrollment because not everybody makes it through K201. So we go down to about 700 students this semester. We also see a trailing effect there. That number's a little deceiving. K201's not that bad. But we do see a little bit of a trailing effect. Most of our students are sophomores, but some people wait up to a year and a half to 2 years later to take X201 for whatever reason. So with K201, we get incoming freshmen almost absolutely. With X201, we see sophomores, juniors, and every once in a while a person who decides they're going to stay on campus for about 6 or 7 years. In X201, we teach spreadsheet modeling and analysis. So we take the skills they learned in K and we basically bump them up to the next level. We like to call ourselves the power users. So we teach them really sophisticated stuff with Excel, and when we teach them to analyze the data that they get and interpret it. In the lectures, we talk about analyzing technology and how to use it in business and how to make business decisions with the technology that you're using. We have labs during the week, lectures on Fridays, and in the lectures, that's where we're using the clickers. And again, we can go up to 260 students per lecture. So it just really varies. We cannot do participant lists like we are doing here today. It's the first time I've actually seen this used because we have such a varying number of students. We don't have the support staff to manage participant lists, so we use the auto setting in TurningPoint to just collect people as they go. I'll talk about some of the problems that we've experienced with that. As far as implementation goes, we implemented this system in 2005 in the fall, September 2005 in K201. K201 is kind of our model course. They tend to, anything new they're going to do, we usually follow after they've kind of broken their teeth on it. So we waited a year. In X201, we started this last September in fall 2006 thinking, hey, all the students have seen this. This is great. And turns out most of our students still hadn't used a clicker before in X201 because of that lag between when they take K and then go into X201. And that brings up an interesting point. I don't know how many of you, I saw we only have about 4 people actually teaching, but just as a word of advice, one of the things we're doing right now is we're talking to some other courses in the School of Business about implementing the system. It's got a very positive review. My wife is actually heavily involved in the system as well. And she was just giving some presentations on Friday, this last Friday, and there's several courses. One has already committed to building off of our model and using the clicker system. We have another very large course that typically handles juniors and seniors, somewhere enrollment about on par with K201 or X201, about several hundred per semester. And they're in discussions about using the system as well. And one of the things we've been talking to them about is when to implement, because we've already trained a good chunk of the students in the School of Business on using clickers. So they won't have some of the same problems we have where people forget to bring them to class, they don't know how to log in, just some of the user issues that you have to train the students on. We've already done that for them, much as when we implemented in the fall we had hoped it already happened. So one of the things that we're talking about, see there I go tripping on stuff. One of the things that we're talking about to these other courses is how long do you want to wait to implement so that the students already know how to use the clicker and all you have to focus on is developing your own system and teaching and getting the instructors up to speed. The students will already know how this system works. So it's just a point I thought I would put out there after I saw the large number of people wanting to implement. Yeah?
I hope you don't mind if I have a question.
Go ahead.
You said you introduced it to K201 all at once, so I'm assuming that involves 10, 15 instructors?
Actually, no, because we're only using it in, we actually have somewhere around 30 instructors that teach the lab sections. The lectures, because they're so large, we only have 2 different instructors that teach 6 lectures on Fridays. So we're only using it in the lecture component right now.
Yeah, you only have to get buy-in from 2 people, essentially.
I'm sorry, repeat that?
You only had to get buy-in from 2 people.
More or less, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And that just helps me clarify the implementation issue.
Yeah, I've had a
Your lectures are not lab. Your lectures don't run the lab.
No. They usually teach some component. Actually, one of the instructors for K201 teaches X201 lab. So, I mean, these two, as far as instructors go, these 2 courses are fairly transparent. But most of our instructors, our full-time faculty, are on board with this. They like it. I've actually been talking to some of the other lab instructors about moving the system into the lab. Even though we have an on-course system, a Sakai system that can do quizzes and polling in class, there's interest in getting the clickers anyway, because I think the instructors see the clickers as a more active, really getting, the students sit there and stare at their PCs so much anyway. It's nice to get them to sit back and look up at what we're doing in the lab. So we've got buy-in from, we have about 15 full-time faculty members teaching, and almost to a T, they're all invested in this system. Yeah. No, hey, I hate to just stand up here and yammer on, so bring on the questions. No, not right now. We have unannounced quizzes we use from time to time, but we don't do any kind of reporting off of that to show the class. We have that system. I actually just found out about this last week. We have that availability to us, but because the Sakai system is something that most of us don't like to play around in on a regular basis, running out of a PowerPoint presentation like this is much quicker and easier to do. We would prefer to use the clickers, actually. I'm not trying to knock on Sakai, by the way. I mean, it's a program that does exactly what it's supposed to, but I think as great as web technology is, and this is coming from a kind of an alpha geek here, I don't think a lot of us like to live on the web. So if we have to do quizzes and tests and things, we don't want to have to do it online if we can avoid it.